Okay, welcome back everyone. We are now inching closer toward the very end of June, in which we're going to be able to learn more about the box office projections of Indy 5, The Dial of Destiny, especially learning about those real numbers in the first 2 weeks within July. That's really going to show us exactly what the trajectory looks like for Indy 5's box office success and or failure, into which Disney is already anticipating this as being a very big flop, a very big box office bomb, so to speak. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into the subject, shall we? Now, we know that Kathleen Kennedy is really in a very bad spot right now, after what she did with Willow, after what she did with Star Wars, and now the latest Indiana Jones, but it doesn't stop there. Now, we know that there's been a lot of things happening within the Hollywood sphere, as I like to call it, or the Hollywood bubble, as others like to call it. When we look at stuff related to the major Hollywood studios, there's been quite a number building up week by week that actually want nothing to do with Kathleen Kennedy. They're banishing her, they're restricting her, whatever you want to call it, using her as a prime example of somebody that you do not want to deal with unless you want to destroy a major franchise. Now, going into this further, there's one big development surrounding the banishment of Kathleen Kennedy from Hollywood altogether, as there are a couple of studios that remained on the fence that have now come to the conclusion that they want nothing to do with Kathleen Kennedy at all, ever in the future or at any point in time. Now, with Kathleen Kennedy struggling with both Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, she has also been going through a very rough phase with Hollywood as of late. However, the current state of Kathleen Kennedy getting restricted gets even worse as everything develops, adding to the list of studios that have now banished Kathleen Kennedy from Hollywood altogether, after even the Hollywood critics have been going through a lot of bad reviews involving Indy 5, now involves Warner Brothers and Paramount. Initially, they were on the fence of banishing Kathleen Kennedy from their studios, as they were in the talks with Kennedy to do some projects between herself and Frank Marshall for both 2025 and 2026. These projects have been recently shut down at a conversations almost immediately after the Dial of Destiny box office results and their projections continued to tank. Now, both Paramount and Warner Brothers also realized all the other studios made their final decision to never deal with Kathleen Kennedy at all, some of which want nothing to do with Frank Marshall at all either, since he does associate with her since he is the husband of Kathleen Kennedy. Now, right now, Kathy Kennedy was reportedly in the talks with WB higher-ups to create a Catwoman spin-off show for the Batman universe. These conversations were very light and in the early stages, however, have now gone to complete nothingness after they witnessed what happened with Indy 5 and their projects coming in. So let me pause here quick for a second. Now, she would have single-handedly destroyed Matt Reeves' up-and-coming Batman universe, or Battinson universe, whatever you want to call it. She would have really tarnished that brand if she even touched a Catwoman project, period, the end. We know the Penguin series is coming out next year. That's going to be something interesting to look forward to. It's basically described as Sopranos meets the Batman universe. It's going to be fun. But Kathleen Kennedy, this is going to show her that studios are done with her. She is done with Hollywood, and the only place that is supporting her right now, for some very odd reason, is Disney themselves. Alright, I don't know what she has on the Disney executives or the board, or even maybe Bob Iger himself. Maybe that's reaching, but it sounds like it's something around those lines of her having some kind of dirt on somebody. I don't know why she's still employed after tanking Star Wars, Willow, and now Indiana Jones, really making the job, mind you, even harder for Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni to really carry all this weight on Ahsoka, to really turn things around for the better. And with this Rey movie doubling down, we've talked about this too, this Rey movie doubling down on really kind of just driving fans away and not having a care in the world, is also another way to tarnish Star Wars even further when it comes to the cinema. And look, I'm looking forward to the Dave Filoni movie, I will be honest. He's a very talented guy. He knows what he's doing with Star Wars lore. And at the end of the day also, he and John are probably the only guys that care about fans deep down through and through. Kathleen Kennedy and Leslie Headland, as well as John Watts, do not. Because these are people that are trying to transform Star Wars. We know that Leslie wants to completely destroy George Lucas's philosophy, and John Watts, with the Skeleton Crew, wants to marvelize and Stranger Things-ify, whatever you want to call it, the Star Wars brand. So moving to the next thing here, further, Frank Marshall is desperately attempting to convince many of his contacts with WB and Paramount to reconsider. They are refusing, as Kennedy was also having discussions of doing something with Paramount for 2026 for an untitled movie that has also now gone to radio silence. Paramount and WB were the last two standing during the Hollywood banishment of Kathleen Kennedy, as everyone else is witnessing that she has destroyed 3 whole franchises, or at the very minimum, has damaged them from Lucasfilm through Disney, and are using her as a textbook example of how to ruin franchises in a row. Multiple, I must add. So, here's the other problem that lies within this. We know that Kathleen Kennedy has no remorse for Star Wars fans. Again, this is somebody that has come forward and told Star Wars fans that we are toxic for raising our opinion and having our concerns about people like Leslie Headland running the show for the Acolyte series, in which, by the way, guys, yes, the Acolyte is 100% airing next year. It is coming out on Disney+. It's all wrapped, it's done filming, and they're going to be doing some additional reshoots by this fall, and we're going to be getting that official release date at D23 this September. A release date will be announced, so mark your calendars. I believe it's like the first couple of days of September when D23 takes place this year, so we'll be learning more about that later on. Again, Disney wants to make sure that what they are doing with 2024 is that basically the Acolyte is going to be the main show for Star Wars next year. Apart from that, you got Andor Season 2 and another unannounced title that will be unveiled at D23. So interestingly enough, alright, this is going to top the list of all the studios that want nothing to do with Kathleen Kennedy, period, the end. Alright, you got WB and Paramount really just saying no to Kathleen Kennedy, no to Frank Marshall, and Frank Marshall even can't even convince them to reconsider. And that's when you know things got real. That's when you know things got really bad for Kathleen Kennedy's image, Disney's image, especially after Elemental, The Little Mermaid, and everything else up and coming. It's not looking good, and the only thing I can say is this right now, to be honest. I never wish a franchise to fall apart. It's not my nature. I want to see things thrive and survive, but unfortunately, when it comes to Kathleen Kennedy, anything that she touches, it really goes to ruin. It does. It comes to a complete, utter destruction, to the point where it's almost unfixable, and it's going to take John and Dave a lot of work to really kind of turn this around. So, guys, drop a comment below. Fill me in below what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.